Seriously? What is that?
Okay, so I'll share my screen here with you. Again, if you are unable to see that screen, go ahead and look on with somebody next to you. Make sure you have something to write on for now. There's going to be a lot of little tricks here that we can use to make sure we're using the right tools for our project. So it's up to you kind of what you want to write down, but some of the more major stuff you'll remember just because it's the tools we've been using. But there's some sort of tricks of the trade. So what we're going to be working on, you've seen the houses kind of around the perimeter of the room. Some of those are the better examples that we've worked on. But we're going to go into our graphics folder, and you've got this project house folder, okay? And when you open that, there are going to be a bunch of different examples of houses that you can use, all right, that you would copy into your Illustrator and borrow from. What I would suggest is maybe looking for your own. I know that I have these out here, but a lot of them are older pictures, so they're a little grainy, all right? And if you pick one that has a lot of detail and you try to zoom in, it's going to be really distorted, okay? And it might be a little difficult. There's some, like these two farmhouses are pretty good. This one here is pretty clear as to what the trim and things are. This one people have done, but it's tricky, but it's a good one. This one's pretty good to do. There's a few on here, but you can see which ones are a little bit grainy. So this one obviously is a little faded. This one is tough to see some of the detail. This one has a lot of shadow and stuff on it. So it's up to you, but really what I would do is maybe take a look at some high def photos online first. Okay, if you're interested in a beach house or an old colonial or something along those lines. Okay, but your main folder that you're going to be working out of is right here, and you have this Illustrator file called House Project. That's what you're going to be working on. All right. What's the first thing we're going to do? Save. All right. So go in here, do Save As. And make sure you can rename it if you want. You might want to just so you have something a little bit different than the rest. Last name and then house, whatever you want to do. Okay. And all it is a regular artboard here, but we're going to end up printing, I think, 22 by 17 or 25 by 17. All right. So this artboard is optimized for that. Okay. But the general idea is that you need to first pick a house, and then we're going to be using the pen tool most of the time. All right, you may, if you encounter a spot that has like an arched doorway or a silo of some sort, that you can use the curvature tool, which is the one right next to the pen right here. Okay, we haven't exactly used that, but it would make sense once you started to. Okay, it creates perfect half circles, all right, or curves. All right, but a few things that we can start marking down in your notes. One is that we're going to be using the layers down here in the bottom right. So if you draw yourself a little icon, that just looks like two pieces of paper over the top of each other. Okay, most of us have seen that we've used that with the snowball, but this is super important. Like, this is what we're going to be using the entire time. Okay, so you need to know that your layers are right here. All right, and the next thing you're going to use is this new layer icon down in the bottom of the screen. Okay, there's one that's a sub layer and there's one that's a regular layer. Make sure you're using just create new layer. You can use either, but for the most part, it's easier just to do a new complete layer. All right. Now, what's going to happen a lot for some reason is that people hit shortcut buttons on their keyboard or drag something off their screen by accident. So if you ever lose this layers, okay, put a big star on your page. You need to come up to Window over here. All right. And Window is essentially setting up what you have on your screen, your literal window. Okay. So if I were to click on this, this is all these tools over on the right-hand side over here, okay? You've got, some of them are already there. So you've got your gradient, you've got graphic styles, and right now we have layers, all right? But if you didn't, you would come back in here and click on layers or hit F7, depending on what you decide to remember. All right, so you can write both of those down. Window, layers, or just hit F7, and that menu will come back. Okay? All right, so first thing we're going to do, go out and look for an image that we want to use. I'm going to grab one of these just because I don't feel like searching right this second. But again, when we do our searches on the internet, actually, let's go ahead and do that. When you do our searches, so let's say old colonial home and you go into tools, or actually images first, and then tools, you want to make sure the size is large so that when we shrink it down, it's actually more high def. Okay, one of the things you want to be careful of is that you don't have a picture like this that has watermarks on it. Okay, that's so somebody can charge for that image. They don't want anybody using that for free. Okay, but if you wanted to, you could come in here and grab one of these houses. Obviously, you want to grab one where there isn't a ton of obstructions. Like this is a really nice picture, but only half of the house is showing. Okay, so maybe something like this brick. This one's kind of nice. You'll sort of see as you go which ones have a ton of detail. All right, but I'm going to grab one that we already have. Okay, that was just sort of an idea here. No, it does not at all. You could pick a beach house. You could pick a log cabin. Just keep in mind as you go through this project and the way that the grading works, okay, I will give you some sort of bonus points for picking a difficult one, but if it doesn't come out very good and the use of the tools doesn't show, then your grade will kind of suffer there. All right, so if you pick one that's like a medium difficulty and you know how to use the tools really well, that's a pretty good spot to be. If you pick a super difficult one, I have no problem helping you. That's fine. Okay, you're just going to take a little bit more time to do the detail and that sort of thing, which I encourage. Try it if you think you're really good with the tools. So I'm going to grab this one for now, and I'm going to right-click, copy image, and I'm going to paste that into my Illustrator. And then how do I zoom out? Control minus, good. Now what I need to do is try to reduce the size of this down so that the part of the house that I want to draw is showing. So what am I going to hold to make sure okay, shift. I'm going to get it to a reasonable size here and maybe shrink it down so I have most of the yard. Okay, you're going to want to take a little time to make sure this is good, but you want to fill up the page basically. Okay, so that's pretty close. I got an even amount on the top and bottom. Use your arrows to get it perfect. All right, and then I'm going to zoom back in. Okay, so for the most part, I've got that image in a generally decent spot. And now what I have to do is I realize that I pasted that picture in. Okay, so that's my layer one. And I never really want to touch that picture again. Okay, I don't want to draw on it. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to move it. Because really what we're going to be doing is tracing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lock that layer. So go ahead and draw a lock. Remember, you have on each layer, you've got an eyeball and a lock. What does the eyeball do?
Visible.
Makes that layer visible. So if I turn it off, it goes away. If I turn the eyeball back on, if I have a locked layer, I can't draw on it. Okay, I can't move it, which is good. All right, and you can see that this image is a little pixelated. I don't know if you can tell on your screens, but actually, it's not too bad when you zoom in.
What's the point of having it locked?
The pointing of having it locked is so that I don't have to worry about drawing over it or moving it by accident.
Okay.
Because you want to draw on a layer above this. So you're basically tracing it. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and add a new layer to start my project. All right, so create new layer over on the bottom right-hand side here. And I can leave that one unlocked. And I'm going to call this, so what you want to try to do with your structure is start drawing the most significant stuff first. So without me kind of explaining that anymore, what might that mean? The what? The frame or the walls, right? So the biggest pieces. Okay, you can also approach it in terms of what's the thing that is in the very bottom layer, which is you have walls and then the windows would go over it if you were drawing this, right? You have walls, you'd have a roof. I might have to just stop this in a second, but I'll redo it in a minute. So you'll have the walls that you start with, the roof, and then we'll put windows over the top. We'll put trim and doors and things like that right over the top of it. All right, but we'll start with the walls. So I'm going to stop this for now and